bit about and introducing our speakers. I just want to shout out to our sponsors. We've got some amazing sponsors that help us put these events together for you, including Ignite Video, and we've got some folks from there. Jeff will be presenting from Ignite tonight. Nos Energy Drink. I don't know if anybody's getting hopped up on Nos, but it's a nice buzz for the gamers and the crew. Lagunitas Beer, the Producers Guild of America, and Susan Bell is actually right there. She's the head of the Producers Guild for the Northern California chapter, if anybody wants to find out more about the PGA. And then our friends here at Yeti Zen. Yeti Zen is a game innovation lab and co-working space, and we really appreciate them letting us have this event here tonight. So the event that we're presenting to you tonight is mobile media, taking engagement on the road. And this is a really significant topic for us in transmedia because mobile growth has been staggering, and it is going to continue to be staggering. It is the single most important phenomenon in the tech space since the advent of the internet, and it's only just begun. This is an industry and a movement that is impacting not only the telecommunications industry, but all industries around it. And we've rounded up a number of speakers tonight that are going to be able to present perspectives across these different industries that are being impacted. And as you can see here, we've got some high numbers. Ooh, we got our little arrow moved a little bit. Entertainment is expected to have, in mobile alone, $54 billion by 2015. Commerce and sales on mobile alone, $31 billion. The amount of data usage that's happening today is expected to be 13 times that in 2017. And all of this is because we are an increasingly mobile and connected world. In 2012, there were almost 7 billion people with mobile subscriptions. It's about 90%. Yeah, I have stats for these numbers. There are over 1.2 billion people accessing the internet from mobile devices. There were over 900,000 apps in the iTunes App Store alone. This year, iTunes actually hit its 50 billionth download. They had a contest for it, and some guy in the Midwest won a $10,000 worth of iTunes credit because he just happened to be the 50 billionth person to download a free game. So these are some phenomenal numbers. One company alone, just Google, so not just any one company, but Google is making $2.5 billion a year in mobile ad sales. This is a significant phenomenon. And it's changing everything. It's completely changing the face of entertainment. Starting originally with music, right? Music was the first to go. Mobile changed the way that we listen to and appreciate and even purchase music. You know, we went from buying albums to buying individual songs, and now it's really all about the experience, and even with a little bit of user-generated content built in. Books and publishing are being shifted. You know, we've seen a number of the nation's newspapers actually, you know, going out of print, moving to digital only, and increasingly we're seeing a phenomenon that actually started with the advent of publishing in novels, which is the serialization of novels. So, you know, how many people know that in the Victorian era, some of the top novels from English literature, Charles Dickens, Hemingway, Melville, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Henry James, the list goes on. These were all serialized, where people were getting these novels in installments. So you would read one installment of Moby Dick after another in your magazine or newspaper. And because of the way that we're consuming reading today on our mobile devices, on tablets and smartphones, we're actually going back to that. And there are companies like Plimpton's that are actually facilitating that and moving us in that direction. Games and toys are obviously being disrupted by this movement. You know, we've seen a number of the game companies worldwide transition from AAA and console games to focusing much more on mobile and casual games. In June of this year, at EA's annual shareholders event, they announced that for the first time they're going to move one of their console games, the FIFA game for soccer, to a free-to-play. So this is phenomenal. I mean, you know, these types of trends are changing a stalwart in the industry's business models, and the toy industry as well. You know, it's interesting. The toy space, they've had decreasing numbers year over year, and one of the reasons why is largely because of tablets. They used to anticipate that their market base was birthed at like 13 when kids started to get interested in sports and dating and clothes. Now they're looking at birth to like 5, 6, and they're losing them to tablets because they're all playing Minecraft. So it's a phenomenal movement, and everybody's having to look at this. Hollywood obviously is feeling the press. We are seeing Nielsen reports come in that television viewership is down by 15% across the board, with certain channels like Fox seeing decreases in primetime viewing of up to 23%. You know that some Hollywood execs are shaking in their shoes, man. These are some significant numbers there. An interesting thing about this is Hollywood has had an increasing focus on what they're calling second screen. And this is an interesting phenomenon for us as transmedia producers, because I always ask, well, what's the first screen? And the answer in Hollywood always is, well, the TV's the first screen, that's the primary screen. But we're now seeing folks like Rob White of ESPN say that mobile and social are the single most important elements of any content strategy moving forward. And executives at Turner Broadcasting and Turner Television saying, there are a number of times where we're starting with mobile and the device and then pulling people towards TV. So it's beginning to shift. What is the first screen? What is the second screen in this environment in Hollywood? Finally, events and live experiences, and our speaker Reza is actually going to talk about some live events. And we've all been in the position where we've gone to an event, and everybody there is tweeting and texting and recording and videotaping, and consumer-generated, user-generated content is becoming an increasingly important aspect of any type of live event. And actually increasingly important, this UGC is becoming increasingly important in all of these things due to the prevalence of mobile and the fact that we're also connected to the internet. And that leads us to, one of the things that fell off here, and I'm just going to add, is brands and ads. Because where goes entertainment, so goes advertising. And advertising is shifting and changing in these really profound ways due to mobile and transmedia experiences. It's becoming much more entertainment driven. It's becoming much more storyfied and requiring levels of engagement that we've never seen before. And I see this happening actually across other industries as well, including shopping. And our first speaker tonight is going to talk a lot about this area, but I just wanted to give my perspective on this. Shopping is actually going through, because as mobile commerce increases, shopping is going through this change where it is no longer enough for these stores to be warehouses of goods and services. They now need to be experiences. They now need to be entertainment venues if they are going to survive. So this is actually the crux of the crisis opportunity. As the opportunity, you can shrink your shop and make it smaller. The crisis is now you've got to change the way that you think about business. You're no longer there about just putting items on a shelf. You've got to entertain people and get them to want to come and utilize the systems, the technology systems, for what they're good at. And that's communicating to your people and making fulfillment and sales. So our first speaker tonight is actually going to carry on this topic of conversation, and that's Fabien Oliva. Fabian is the CEO and founder of Fiverun, and I'm going to actually just turn it on over to Fabian. I'll let him introduce himself. Thanks.
Monday, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fiverun, and while she's putting that together, I'll explain a little bit about my background. So this is my second startup. The first one was in the mobile security space, and then I led that to a successful exit via acquisition, and then spent 4 years at Big Blue, or known as IBM. So I spent 4 years there, and around in the payments and the innovation space, and then I realized that there's a bigger picture that's happening within the retail market that's happening now, and that's kind of what led to the formation of Fiverun. If you think about it, you can walk into you can be anywhere right now and you can buy a hotel room, right? You can reserve it, you can buy an airplane ticket, but when you're inside of a retail store, you look at a given product, let's say it's a pair of shoes, let's say it's an ironing board, you can't actually buy that product from your phone, or you can't buy the online product, necessarily speaking, when you're inside the store. So it's in retail itself is a pretty I guess, archaic experience, and it's not connected and engaging with how we live our online lives nowadays. And that's what we're doing at Fiverun, is to bridge that kind of digital divide between that online experience that we love into the offline store where we're actually at. So what we do is what many people call or refer to as the Apple Store experience. So we arm the sales associate with a tablet that they could use to actually be able to help sell a customer directly and to provide a much more engaging shopping experience as being led by a sales associate. So let's talk a little bit about our team just very quickly. So Christian, who's sitting there with the pink shirt, I think he's the only guy with the pink shirt on today. So he's Mr. Retail, so he heads up business development and sales, and he brings a big background in working with Christian Dior, Louis Vuitton, and other big luxury brand retailers. And then my other two co-founders, Brandon and Urkon, bring backgrounds and experience working with mobile payments, startups, IBM, and cloud technologies. So we're a team that brings retail, mobile, and entrepreneurship together. So how many people have had this problem before? You walk up to somebody and you ask, okay, which iron should I buy? You're looking at two irons in your hand, and you're trying to figure out, both look almost roughly speaking exactly the same. The features seem roughly exactly the same. And you're trying to figure out to buy A or B. So you find the first salesperson you find, you ask him the question, and he says, I don't know. And then he grabs a box himself, and he's reading the same labels you just read. You're thinking, oh, you know what? I just did that, right? So then you're going to go on your phone and Amazon, and you find reviews that actually tells you what's the difference. And since you're on your website already on Amazon, you might as well buy from there. So in other words, it's a frustrating experience, right? I mean, the salespeople aren't educated enough to be able to help you adequately. Here's another common experience, right? You're there inside the store, and you ask, do you have X variation? Perhaps you want that microwave in stainless steel. And they say, yeah, I think we do, but I'm not sure. It's in our online store. Right? But it would be nice if you could buy that same product that you looked at right now, right? But so obviously they have the products, they can sell it to you online, but they can't sell it to you inside the store. Again, leads to not a very engaging and often a frustrating sales experience. So again, this kind of sums up some of the problems. Obviously, if you can't get what you want inside the store, you're going to buy elsewhere at a competing retailer, or you're going to buy online. So every time that they say it's in our online store, you go online, and you don't, that results in loss of revenue for that brick and mortar retailer. And the bottom line is also too, it's just really disconnected from how we live our lives as people. I mean, when we buy an expensive product that's cost $500, it'd be nice to have that receipt in our email inbox. Not a piece of paper we got to take a picture of and hope that we don't delete the picture one day. It's just disconnected. So how do we change that? We help increase the actual basket size by letting the sales associate sell you a product from a tablet, both from their online catalog and their offline catalog from one single shopping cart. That obviously will lead to larger transaction sizes, and if you're not ready to buy, instead of having to push a salesperson that's going to say, buy this ring now, buy this dress now, they can actually save it for you as a wish list. And when you walk out of the store, you're going to email what the products you viewed and looked at, and you can always come back in the store later, and maybe the associate can help you to buy those products again. And then we synchronize on the back end with the actual retailer's existing IT technology. But let me give you a quick demo about this. What you saw is essentially the sales associate, again, would have that tablet in their hand, and then from there they're actually using that to actually sell to the actual customer that's in the store. And of course, you saw an example where you can link a transaction to an identity. Obviously, you can do the payment part, and then the associate even has a dashboard where they can see how much they've actually sold that day, that week, and can have promotions pushed to them. So for example, if you're the sales manager at that store, you can actually push to your associates, hey, you should sell more of the Chanel product line this week because of a certain special. So some of the customers we're working with at the bottom tier here, these are platform partners that we engage with, Microsoft and IBM and SAP being our top three. These are customers, these are revenue producing customers. Macy's and Moss is a company in the UK, which is, think of like Jose Baker or something like that. It sells high fashion men's clothing. These are some of the business partners who we work with. And next stage, these are some of the retailers that we're in discussions with. Coach and Verizon Wireless is probably some of the next ones that we'll end up engaging with, amongst some other brand names that you recognize there. So our cloud platform, if for some reason the drawing's not showing up, but this is what I call the sexiest part, is the cloud platform that lets us synchronize with the retailer's existing products and their existing technology. So in other words, they don't need to rip out all of their existing inventory management, finance, and other systems that they have in their environment. They can simply use our product and we plug into their existing systems. So in short, in essence, not now, but when you look at the future, 5 to 10 years from now, every retailer will need this type of technology. If they don't have this, it's going to be akin to a retailer having, who here remembers those credit card machines that took a piece of paper and swiped? I mean, when you see those nowadays, you're like, wow, you just look, it looks bad. So in the same kind of flavor, I think ultimately, a sales associate being equipped with a tablet to help you and help sell their products is ultimately where the future is going to go. And I think we have the platform and the team to help kind of bring this to market. So thanks, guys. Any questions?
So what is so awful about the store becoming the showroom?
No, I think it's actually not. No, that's a really good point. It's actually not awful. I think that's the desire of the retailer. They want to become a showroom because, for many reasons, not the least of which is, of course, is supply chain efficiencies. Right now, the store is primarily an inventory place, which a warehouse, right? So ultimately, when we're speaking to a lot of these retailers, they realize that they need to shrink their stores smaller, turn them into showrooms, have examples of the products, but they need technology to be able to sell the rest of the products because they can't shrink it without being able to sell the rest of their products from their online and offline into one single shopping cart. So yeah, I think that's where retail is going to head toward. Stores smaller and showrooms. Yes, please.
Do you have any involvement with the shipping end, making this physically happen?
So the shipping in, we would essentially plug into the existing methods that they would want to use. Everything from, I guess, the traditional FedEx, UPS, mail, to even eBay now and these other types of technologies that are out there. We just basically plug in from a partner perspective.
So, just keeping on with John's question about the store becoming a showroom, and how I term it is it's got to become an entertainment venue.
Right.
When Fabian and I were actually talking to a VC at Javelin and talking about her experience shopping, and she goes shopping with her girlfriends because it's an experience. They know what they wear, they know their size hasn't really changed, they know the clothes that they like, but they go out to have this experience. And we're seeing it become much more of this entertainment experience. And so my question back to you is, you're working with a lot of high-end boutiques initially. So talk a little bit about the boutique experience and how you're integrating there, and then what's your plan to roll out? Because I know that Walmart has some big plans, and I want to ask you about that too.
Yeah, so I think we started out, you're 100% correct. I remember being, when I was 16, I remember we would go to Best Buy and get our friends together because we wanted to see the new computers and the new technologies, and we'd touch them and see them, and it was cool. I mean, I don't think many 16-year-olds want to go to Best Buy nowadays. It's just not engaging, right? It's not a unique experience. And ultimately, when you think about big picture, really big picture, brick and mortar retailers can never effectively compete on price alone against pure play e-commerce. They're just never going to be able to do it. They don't have the profit margins that a pure play e-commerce vendor does. But they do have two main aspects that they can compete on, which pure play e-commerce cannot, which is the people and the actual property. So in other words, those two factors they could use as a foundation to provide a much more engaging, almost an entertainment-like experience, right? To make it worthwhile for you to go in the store and pay a premium over a pure play e-commerce vendor. So I think, yeah, we started out first with the kind of high luxury brands because it kind of fits our exact product set and the features we have, but also too because a lot of folks who shop in those, if you're going to a Coach store, part of the reason you're going to the Coach store is because obviously you want to buy the bag, but also you're shopping, and it's an emotional purchase when you're buying something that's fairly high end. So I think our product helps complement that and helps create more of that kind of engaging, emotional, personal experience that's kind of needed. And bigger picture, I think right now we're focused on the high-end brand. The bigger picture, there's nothing to stop us from rolling this out as a platform to provide to any retailer. I mean, essentially, whether you're a retailer selling pencils and pins, there's really nothing to stop us going that angle. And I think probably in the next maybe 18 months, we'll look at scaling downward.
That's great, and and I want everybody to think about the best retail experiences, right? Think about why people go to the Apple store. It's not because they're getting a discount there, it's to go to have that Apple experience. Or Abercrombie, right? You walk in, it's the smell even, they pump perfume out at you, and the pictures of really attractive half-naked people, you're not getting that at home, where they're bigger than life. So it's this experience that we're going for there, and I do see it kind of moving down scale. And we're in some discussions. For those of you that were at our May event, where we had our friend from Walmart presenting on some of their digital strategy, we know that they're looking at a digital strategy, and there was a huge article in Fast Company magazine. My question back to you, Fabian, though, is, well, what do you have planned for the consumer? What are you going to put in the consumer's hand? Because we know that it's great to put something in the sales associate's hand, but what about the consumer experience on their model?
That's a good question. So right now we're 100% focused on the sales associate use case, but really the elephant in the room is, of course, the consumer. How do we help the retailer engage with them? And so I think the simplest factor is, how does a retailer identify who's even in your store? I mean, they know more about you online, but nothing about you when you walk in the store. They're physically there. And so you have startups on some angles that are trying to have these wireless sensors that will recognize your face. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Minority Report, when they're saying, hello, welcome here, and that's just human nature makes it feel intrusive to us. I think where our big picture thesis where we're moving down, and we're in the midst of working with the retailer to launch this, is to give the retailer a platform that lets them engage with the actual consumer and gives the consumer a reason to be recognized inside the store. So if you're going to Macy's, you probably wouldn't want them to recognize your face and track who you are, but you may want to let yourself be recognized if you know you're going to get a 10% coupon pushed directly to you on your suits. Or if you've been at that store 5 times and you're the mayor of the store, then you now get 20% off of your entire purchase. That's a motivation. So I think as we look towards the future, we're going to create a platform that lets the retailers engage with their consumers from their own physical mobile apps themselves. So yeah, that's the next phase of our development.
Great. Any other questions?
What's the story behind your branding?
That's a good question. If you're asking about that, the thesis behind it is the number 5 it's a very intuitive number. I mean, you get off at work, well, obviously not us, we get off at 10 o'clock at night, but most people get off at work at 5, right? I mean, not 4, not 6, usually 5, 9 to 5. You have 5 main appendages on your body.
That's a high 5.
Exactly, you have high 5, you have 5 main digits, toes. So 5 is a very, very intuitive number in nature and us as humans. And so run implies mobility. So the idea behind it is have our solutions that be mobile and intuitive. In other words, bring simplicity with all these different business case functions.
Great. Any other questions for Fabian tonight? All right, thank you very much, Fabian. Really interesting.
Thank you all.
I have to say I'm really excited to to see what happens with mobile. You know, some friends here and I were talking about, you know, some of these retail experiences like Build-A-Bear and some of these other retail experiences that I think are really going to change due to mobile and other connected devices, that we're going to see a lot of movement in this area. So let me